Hopefully this will do better. Let me just check. Great chapter today, family. Lengthy, but good. A reminder once again. Oh, and it is, the connection looks terrible too. Wow, it looks great on my phone, but I'm watching it on YouTube and it's terrible. All right. I don't know what I'm going to do about this, family. All right. Anyway, let's get into Deuteronomy chapter 8, blessings at Gerizim. Now it shall be, if you diligently listen to and obey the voice of the Lord your God, being careful to do all of his commandments, which I'm commanding you today, the Lord your God will set you high above all the nations of the earth. All these blessings will come upon you and overtake you if you pay attention to the voice of the Lord your God. You will be blessed in the city and you will be blessed in the field. The offspring of your body and the produce of your ground and the offspring of your animals, the offspring of your herd, and the young of your flock will be blessed. Your basket and your kneading bowl will be blessed. You will be blessed when you come in, and you will be blessed when you go out. The Lord will cause the enemies who rise up against you to be defeated before you. They will come out against you one way, but flee before you 7 ways. The Lord will command the blessing upon you in your storehouses and all that you undertake. And he will bless you in the land which the Lord your God gives you. The Lord will establish you as a people holy and set apart to himself, just as he has sworn to you, if you keep the commandments of the Lord your God and walk, that is, live your life each and every day in his ways. So all the peoples of the earth will see that you are called by the name of the Lord, and they will be afraid of you. The Lord will give you great prosperity in the offspring of your body and in the offspring of your livestock and in the produce of your ground, in the land which the Lord swore to your fathers to give you. The Lord will open for you his good treasure house, the heavens, to give rain and to your land in its season, and to bless all the work of your hand. And you will lend to many nations, but you will not borrow. The Lord will make you the head, or the leader, and not the tail, the follower. And you will be above only, and you will not be beneath. If you listen and pay attention to the commandments of the Lord your God, which I am commanding you today, to observe them carefully. Do not turn aside from any of the words which I am commanding you today, to the right or to the left, to follow and serve other gods. Next section. Let me just double check what's going on here. Okay, here we go. Consequences of disobedience. But it shall come about, if you do not listen to, if you do not, hear the consequences, if you do not listen to and obey the voice of the Lord your God, being careful to do all his commandments and all his statutes, which I am commanding you today, then all these curses will come upon you and overtake you. You will be cursed in the city and cursed in the field. Your basket and your kneading bowl will be cursed. The offspring of your body and the produce of your land, the offspring of your herd and the young of your flock will be cursed. You will be cursed when you come in, and you will be cursed when you go out. The Lord will send upon you curses, confusion, and rebuke in everything that you undertake to do, until you are destroyed, perishing quickly because of the evil deeds, because of your evil deeds, rather, because you have turned away from me. The Lord will make the pestilence and plague cling to you until he has consumed and eliminated you from the land which you are entering to possess. The Lord will strike you with consumption, causing you to waste away, and with fever, and with inflammation, and with fiery heat, and with the sword, and with blight, and with mildew on your crops, and they will pursue you until you perish. The heaven which is over your head shall be bronze, giving no rain and blocking all prayers. And the earth which is under you, iron, hard to plow and yielding no produce. The Lord will make the rain of your land powder and dust. From heaven it will come down on you until you are destroyed. The Lord will cause you to be defeated before your enemies. You will go out against them one way, but flee before them 7 ways. And you will be an example of terror to all the kingdoms of the earth when they see your destruction. Your carcasses will be food for all the birds of the sky and the beasts of the earth, and there will be no one to frighten them away. The Lord will strike you with the boils of Egypt, and with tumors, and with the scab and the itch that you cannot heal. The Lord will strike you with madness and with blindness and with bewilderment of heart and mind. And you will be groping at noon in broad daylight, just as the blind grope in the darkness. And nothing you do will prosper, but you will only be oppressed and exploited and robbed continually with no one to save you. You will be pledged to marry a wife, but another man will be intimate with her before you. You will build a house, but you will not live in it. You will plant a vineyard, but you will not use its fruit. Your ox will be excuse me, your ox will be slaughtered before your eyes, but you will not eat any of it. Your donkey will be torn away from you, and it will not be returned to you. Your sheep will be given to your enemies, and you will have no one to save you. Your sons and daughters will be given to another people while your eyes look on and long for them continually. But there will be nothing you can do. A people whom you do not know will eat the produce of your land and all the products of your labors, and you will never be anything but oppressed and exploited and crushed continually. You shall be driven mad by the sight of these things. The Lord will strike you on the knees and on the legs with sore boils that you cannot heal, from the sole of your foot to the crown of your head. The Lord will bring you and your king, whom you appoint over you, to a nation which you and your fathers have never known. There you will be forced to serve other gods, lowercase g, lifeless gods of wood and stone. And you will become a horror, a proverb, a mere object lesson, and a taunt, a derisive joke among all the people to which the Lord drives you. You will bring out a great quantity of seed to the field, but you will gather in little, because the locust will consume it. You will plant vineyards and cultivate them, but you will not drink the wine or gather the grapes, because the worm will eat them. You will have olive trees throughout your territory, but you will not anoint yourselves with the oil, because your olives will drop off. You will have sons and daughters, but they will not be yours for long, because they will go into captivity. The cricket will take possession of all your trees and the produce of your ground. The stranger who lives among you will rise above you higher and higher, and you will go down lower and lower. He will lend to you out of his affluence, but you will not lend to him because of your poverty. He will be the head, and you will be the tail. So all these curses will come on you and pursue you and overtake you until you are destroyed, because you would not obey the voice of the Lord your God by keeping his commandments and his statutes, which he has commanded you. They will be a sign and a wonder to you and your descendants forever. Because you did not serve the Lord your God with a heart full of joy and gladness for the abundance of all things which he blessed you, with which he blessed you, you will therefore serve your enemies whom the Lord sends against you, in hunger and in thirst, in nakedness and in lack of all things, ALL, lack in all things. And he will put an iron yoke of slavery on your neck until he has destroyed you. The Lord will bring a nation against you from far away, from the end of the earth, as swift as the eagle swoops down to attack, a nation whose language you will not understand, a defiant nation who will have no respect for the old, nor show favor to the young. And it will eat the offspring of your herd and the produce of your ground until you are destroyed, who will leave you no grain, new wine or oil, nor the offspring of your herd or the young of your flock, until they have caused you to perish. They will besiege you in all your cities until your high and fortified walls in which you trusted come down throughout your land. And they will besiege you in all your cities throughout your land, which the Lord your God has given you. Then you will eat the offspring of your own body to avoid starvation, the flesh of your sons and daughters, whom the Lord your God has given you, during the siege and the misery by which your enemy will oppress you. The man who is most refined and well bred among you will be cruel and hostile toward his brother and toward the wife he cherishes and toward the rest of his children who remain, so that he will not give even one of them any of the flesh of his children, which he will eat, because he has nothing left during the siege and the misery by which your enemy will oppress you in all the cities, in all your cities. The most refined and well-bred woman among you, who would not venture to set the sole of her foot on the ground because she is so delicate and pampered, will be cruel and hostile toward the husband she cherishes, and toward her son and daughter, and toward her afterbirth that comes from between her legs, and toward the children whom she bears, for she will eat them secretly for lack of anything else during the siege and the misery by which your enemy will oppress you in your cities. If you are not careful to do all the words of this law that are written in this book, to fear and honor with reverence this glorious and awesome name of the Lord your God, then the Lord will bring extraordinary plagues on you and your descendants, even severe and lasting plagues and miserable and chronic sicknesses. Moreover, he will bring on you all the diseases of Egypt of which you were afraid, and they will cling to you. Also, the Lord will bring on you every sickness and every plague which is not written in this book of this law until you are destroyed, because you did not obey the voice of the Lord your God. You, who were as numerous as the stars of the heaven, shall be left few in number. It shall come about that just as the Lord delighted over you to make you prosper and multiply, so the Lord will delight over you to bring you to ruin and destruction. And you will be uprooted violently from the land which you are entering to possess. And the Lord will scatter you among all the nations from one end of the earth to the other. And there you will be forced to serve other gods, lowercase g, lifeless gods of wood and stone, which neither you nor your fathers have known. Among these nations, excuse me, among those nations you will find no peace or rest, and there will be no resting place for the sole of your foot. But there the Lord will give you a trembling heart, failing eyes, and a despairing soul. Your life will hang in doubt before you. Night and day you will be filled with anxiety and have no assurance of living. In the morning you will say, I wish it were evening. And in the evening you will say, I wish it were morning, because of the dread in your heart with which you tremble, and because of the sight of your eyes which you will see. The Lord will bring you back to Egypt in ships by the way about which I said to you, you will never see it again. And there you will offer yourselves for sale to your enemies as male and female slaves, but there will be no one to buy you. Amen and amen. All right, family, that was Deuteronomy chapter 28 in the Amplified Bible. That was 68 verses. So let's go. We have a lot of footnotes. Okay, let's go through the footnotes. The first footnote starts with verse number 4. And good morning, family. Good morning, everybody. All right, verse 4. Verse 4 reads, the offspring of your body and the produce of your ground and the offspring of your animals. All right. The first footnote here is on the offspring of your body. So the first footnote is on offspring, and the second one is on your body, of your body. And it says, the fruit or so throughout the offspring, they refer to your offspring as your fruit. All right. And the second one, it says your body, it says your womb. The fruit, so the offspring of your womb. All right. Next footnote, verse number 8. The Lord will command the blessings upon you in your storehouses here's your footnote, all that you undertake. And it says, all to which you have set your hand, everything that you put forth your hand to do, the Lord will bless. Next footnote, verse number 20. And 20 reads, the Lord will send upon you curses, confusion, and rebuke in everything that you undertake to do until you are destroyed, perishing quickly because of the evil of your deeds, because you have, here's your footnote, turned away from me. And it says, forsaken, because you have forsaken God, you've turned your back on God. Next footnote, 34. The chapter is so long, it's taken me a while to scroll up and down. All right, next footnote, 34. 34 reads, you shall be driven mad by the sight, here's your footnote, of the things you see. And the footnote says, your eyes, the things which your eyes see. All right, next footnote, verse 40. 40 says, you will have olive trees throughout your territory, but you will not, here's your footnote, anoint yourselves with the oil because your olives will drop off. And the footnote tells us, olive oil was commonly used like a cosmetic to soften the skin and as a hairdressing. I didn't know that. I didn't know. All right, next verse 50, that they used it as a hairdressing. Interesting. All right, let's back up. Verse 50, it's a continuation of 40. All right. The Lord will bring, I'm going to back up to 49. The Lord will bring a nation against you from far away, from the end of the earth, as swift as the eagle swoops down to attack. A nation whose language you will not understand. Here's our footnote. A defiant nation who will, and here's the second footnote in that sentence, have no respect for the old. So a defiant nation who will have no respect for the old. And it says here, strong of face, Assyria and Babylonia have been suggested as prophetic fulfillments for this nation, and prophecy often has more than one fulfillment. All right, the second footnote in 50 was, who will have no respect for the old. And the footnote says, will not lift up the face of, I guess having respect is lifting up your face. And all right, next two footnotes are on verse 54. 54 reads, the man who is most refined and well-bred among you, here's your first footnote, will be cruel and hostile toward his brother and toward, here's the second footnote, the wife he cherishes, and toward the rest of his children. All right, so will be cruel. This is verse 54. His eyes will be evil toward. And the second one, with regard to his wife, it says the wife of his bosom, the wife that he cherishes. Good morning. All right, next footnote, 55. Verse 55 says, it's a continuation of 54, so that he will not give even one of them any of the flesh of his children. He will not give the wife that he cherishes, nor will he give any to the children that remain. All right, so here we go. We're now into cannibalism, family. That's what this is. So that he will not give even one of them any of the flesh of his children, which he will eat. Here's your footnote, which he will eat because he has nothing left. That's the second footnote, because he has nothing else left to eat during this siege. All right, 55. This is horrible. It's just horrible for me to even read it. The horror of the situation is understated. That's the truth. You don't know, just this making my stomach turn just reading this. The horror of the situation is understated. This self-absorbed father begins killing some of his children to feed himself. The rest of the family, also starving under the brutal conditions, probably this is really not good. I don't mean to laugh. I'm just hard. I'm really having a problem reading this. Also starving under the rest of the family, also starving under the brutal conditions, probably want some of the. Now, this word, I had to look up this word, how to pronounce it, and it's pronounced differently in macabre, macabre. You have French, you have English, European English, different forms, but that's how they say you pronounce it, however you choose. Macabre. All right. This meal and I looked this up, and it means like gruesome, like grotesque, this gruesome meal, but the father keeps it all for himself. That is grotesque, right? Eating your children. Whew. All right, the second footnote in 55. Let me go back up. Because he has nothing else left. All right. And it says, the implication is that under ordinary conditions, such a person would undoubtedly gag at eating perfectly good food that might be slightly stale or otherwise unappealing to him. I'm gagging at the thought of this. All right, 56. There are two footnotes in 56. 56 reads, the most refined and well-bred woman among you, who would not venture to set the sole of her foot on the ground because she is so delicate and pampered, here's the first footnote, will be cruel and hostile, the second footnote, toward the husband she cherishes and toward her son and her daughter. Ugh. All right. It says, her eye will be evil toward her husband, the husband of her bosom. All right, 63. It shall come about that just as the Lord delighted over you to make you prosper and multiply, so the Lord will delight over you to bring you to ruin and destruction. And you will be, here's the footnote, uprooted violently from the land which you are entering to possess. And the final footnote says to us, there have been many uprootings from the land, notably those by Nebuchadnezzar, Titus, and later by the Emperor Hadrian, who issued a proclamation forbidding Jews to live in Judea or even to approach its border. In his attempt to eradicate Judaism, among other things, Hadrian renamed the Roman province of Syria Palestina after the Philistines. All right, family, that was a long chapter. So let's go up to the top. Let's read about the blessings. Now, most of us know this section, right? We've heard different verses of this: blessed in the city, blessed in the field, blessed going in, blessed coming out, etc. And as I thought about this, I'll tell you what I have here in my notes. Let's start with verse 1. Now, right in the beginning of this chapter, verse 1, it says, now it shall be if. Again, we have a condition. This is not automatic, right? It says, if you diligently listen to and obey the voice of the Lord your God, being careful to do all of his commandments, which I'm commanding you today. The Lord your God will set you high above all nations on the earth. All these blessings will come upon you and overtake you if you pay attention to the voice of the Lord your God. These are not just, you don't get it just because you woke up this morning. You have to do something, right? You have to diligently listen to and obey the voice of the Lord your God. Think about it again in the natural. You don't just reward your children when they're disobedient, disrespectful, got in trouble in school, right? You don't reward your children for disobedience. You reward your children for obedience. You reward your children when they've done well, when they've done the right thing, when what they have done is pleasing in your sight, right? And so it is with these blessings. Now, we go on to verse number 3, right? I wrote in my notes, verse number 1, if. Verse number 2, the blessings will come again if you hear and heed, if you hear, pay attention, obey, if you fulfill the commandments. Now we go on to the things that we know. You'll be blessed in the city. You'll be blessed in the field. The offspring of your body, your children will be blessed. The produce of your ground, your crops will be blessed. It says the offspring of your animals will be blessed. The offspring of your herd and the young of your flock, everything will be blessed. Right? You're going to be blessed going in, blessed coming out. It says, verse 5, your basket and your kneading bowl will be blessed. Your food will be blessed. You will be blessed when you come in. You will be blessed when you go out. Just blessings everywhere you go. The Lord will cause the enemies who rise up against you to be defeated before you. Victory. You will have victory. You will be victorious. They will come out against you one way, but flee before you 7 ways. Your enemies will scatter. Right? The Lord will command the blessings upon you in your storehouses and all that you undertake. Everything that you put forth your hand to do, God will bless it. He will multiply it. It will be fruitful. He will command the blessings upon you in your storehouses and all that you undertake. He will bless you in the land the Lord your God gives you. The Lord will establish you as a people, holy and set apart. Not just people, holy people, set apart to himself, capital H, just as he has sworn to do. Here we go again with the word if, verse 9. If you keep the commandments of the Lord your God and walk, that is, live your life each and every day in his ways. Makes perfect sense, right? We don't get rewarded for disobedience, or we shouldn't. In today's society, there are cases where people are getting rich off of their bad behavior, right? Now it goes on to verse 10. So all the peoples of the earth will see that you are called by the name of the Lord, and they will be afraid of you. Your blessings will be public. They will be on display. All the world will be able to see that you're blessed. They'll be afraid of you because you're so blessed, right? They won't be able to touch you because God is going to cause your enemies to flee from you 7 ways. You're going to be victorious. You're going to be victorious in everything that you do, but it requires something. The Lord will give you great prosperity in the offspring of your body. Again, your children will be blessed. Your animals, it says the offspring of your livestock. Even your livestock will reproduce. Your livestock will be healthy. And the produce of your ground, your crops, the vegetables and things that you grow in the land which the Lord swore to your fathers. The Lord will open for you his good treasure house, the heavens, to give rain to your land in its season. Right? So that means he's opening up the windows of heaven to give rain. Your crops will not dry out. They will not suffer from lack of rain. They will get rainwater. They will be nourished, right, in its season, and to bless all the work of your hands. And you will lend to many nations, but you will not borrow, right? When you have to borrow, when you're the borrower instead of the lender, that is stress. When you have to now continue to pay somebody back and figure out how you're going to pay them back, right? And a lot of times you have to pay back in our society, you have to pay back with interest. That brings about great stress upon you. You don't have rest when you're inundated with debt. And every time you get paid, you're writing out, you're paying your bills, you got to pay somebody off, and there's nothing left for you. Verse 13, the Lord will make you the head, the leader, and not the tail, the follower. You will be above only, and you will not be beneath. Again, this is conditional. It goes on to say, verse 13, if you listen and pay attention to the commandments of the Lord your God, which I am commanding you today, to observe them carefully. We're not to be reckless in our behavior. We're not to be careless in our walk with God. We ought to take this seriously. Do not turn aside from any of the words which I am commanding you today, to the left or to the right, to follow and to serve other gods. Now, something like this flashed through my mind as I was reading this. Do not turn aside from any of the words which I am commanding you today. In our society, we're very, people have a tendency to pick and choose which parts of the Bible they will follow and which parts of the Bible they will not follow, right? Because there are things that we want to do. There are things that our flesh likes to do. There are things that bring us pleasure and joy, but they're sinful. And then there are other things that we have no desire to do. We don't do it. We don't struggle with it. And those scriptures we obey, right? And you see people now, they're twisting the word, they're perverting the word of God. They're saying that the word doesn't say what the word really does say because they want to participate in that sin. So how do you do that? You rationalize it, you twist it, you pervert it, and you say the word doesn't mean what it really means. The word is very clear, right? Do not turn aside from any of the words which I am commanding you today, not to the left nor to the right, to follow or serve other gods. We have a major problem in the world with people serving other gods, whether it's money, whether it is fake gods, false gods, Whether it is another person that you're head over heels in love with, or you just admire, you want to be like them and you model yourself after them. You ever see these people who have plastic surgery to make themselves look like a celebrity? That celebrity has become their idol. They want to dress like them. They want to talk like them. They want to look like them, right? They've made these celebrities their gods, lowercase g. All right. Here we go. Now we're going to go into the second here. Verse 15 is titled here, I'm in the Amplified, Consequences of Disobedience. Now 15 through 16, we're talking about the consequences of your disobedience, right? Of disobedience. But it shall come about, here we go, if you do not listen to and obey the voice of the Lord your God, being careful to do all of his commandments, A-L-L, not some, not the ones that you want to do, not the ones that are comfortable for you, not the ones that you like to do, not the ones that are easy for you to do. Be careful to do all his commandments and his statutes, which I am commanding you today. Then all these curses will come if you're not careful, right? If you do not listen. We're in the curses now. We're in the consequence section. If you do not listen to, if you do not obey, if you do not follow these commandments and statutes, which I am commanding you today, then all these curses, if you do not, then all these curses will come upon you, and not only come upon you, it says will overtake you. Now listen to what happens here. You will be cursed in the city, cursed in the field. Above, we read you would be blessed in the city and blessed in the field. Now what would have been and could have been and should have been your blessing will now be your curse. Your basket and your kneading bowl will be cursed. The offspring of your body and the produce of your land, the offspring of your herd and the young of your flock will be cursed. Now your children are suffering. Now your children, the offspring of your body, are now cursed because of your disobedience, right? Now we're talking about generational curses. It's going down into the generations. You will be cursed when you come in, and you will be cursed when you go out. Instead of blessed coming in and blessed going out, you're now cursed. Here we go, verse 20. The Lord will send upon you curses, confusion, and rebuke in everything that you undertake until you are destroyed. Now it says perishing quickly because of the evil of your deeds, because you have turned away from me. There are great consequences here. Confusion, rebuke, everything until you are destroyed. This is destruction. Utter destruction, perishing quickly. Things are turning in a bad direction quickly because of the evil of your deeds, because you have turned away from me. Now, 21, the Lord will make the pestilence and the plague cling to you until he has consumed and eliminated you from the land which you are entering to possess. Again, now your promised land, now you're in consequences. Now you've got pestilence, you've got plagues, there's utter destruction until you're eliminated. The Lord will strike you with consumption, causing you to waste away with fever. Now you've got sickness in your body, fever, inflammation, heat. Now even your crops are sick. Even now there's mildew on your crops. Everything that was supposed to flourish and thrive is now going to be decimated, destroyed. The heaven which is over your head shall be bronze. Now, instead of you having the rain to water your crops, right? It says now the heaven which is over your head will be bronze, giving no rain and blocking. Listen, this is the Amplified. In the parentheses here, it says giving no rain and blocking all prayers. Can you imagine being in a position with God where he won't even listen to your prayers? You can't get a prayer through. You can't get a breakthrough. And all the earth which is under you, iron, hard to plow and yielding no produce. Now there's a drought. There's no rain. There's no rainwater. How do the crops grow? There's no water to feed the crops. The Lord will make the rain of your land powder and dust. From heaven it will come down on you until you're destroyed. Oh my goodness. All right, we're up to 25. The Lord will cause you to be defeated. Instead of your enemies scattering, it says you'll go out against them one way, but you'll now flee before them 7 ways. So there's a whole reversal of all the blessings. All the blessings have now been reversed into curses here, right? Everything that we read up top now is turned into a curse. This is a bad scene, family. You will be an example of terror to all the kingdoms of the earth when they see your destruction. Your carcass will be food for all the birds. There will be no one to frighten them away. Can you imagine that? Just imagine being in that. The land is like a desert land, right? It's dry. There's no water. There's no rainwater. There's nothing here. So now you imagine like a desert, and you just see these carcasses, and the birds, the crows and everything are just feeding off of these bodies, off of these carcasses. 27, the Lord is going to strike you with boils of Egypt, with tumors and scabs and itching. This kind of, when you get to this part and I'm reading about the boils and scabs and things like that, it kind of takes you back to Job, right? The Lord will strike you with madness and with blindness and with bewilderment of heart and mind. Listen, verse 29, you'll be groping at noon in broad daylight, just as the blind grope in the darkness, and nothing you do will prosper. Everything, just complete failure. Everything is going to fail, but you will only be oppressed and exploited and robbed continually with no one to save you. So it says, but you will only be oppressed. So there's no blessings anywhere. You can't get a blessing. You can't buy a blessing. Like, you can't do anything, right? You can't pray for a blessing, but you will only be oppressed and exploited and robbed continually with no one to save you. There's no help. If there's no one to help and bring you out, and God, you can't even get a prayer to God, there's going to be no reversal of this. You're just going to perish. Everything is just going to die out. No one to save you. Utter destruction. You will be pledged to marry a wife, but another man will be intimate with her before you. Now we know how purity is a big thing in the Bible. Purity of a woman, virginity was a big deal. So now if you're pledged to marry this wife, but another man has had her, we've read about that, right? And we read last week about divorce. A man can't take his wife back if she has now married somebody else. And let's say her second husband dies and now she wants to go back to the first. He can't take her back because now she slept with someone else. So imagine this. This might not seem like much to us, but this was a big thing, right? You will be pledged to marry a wife, but another man will be intimate with her before you. You will build a house, but you won't live in it. You will plant a vineyard, but you will not use its fruit. So the works of your hand, your labor, you will not benefit from your labor. Your ox will be slaughtered before your eyes, but you won't eat any of it. Your donkey will be torn away. You're losing your possessions, right? But it will not be returned to you. Your sheep will be given to your enemies, and you will have no one to save you. Can you imagine just people coming and taking your possessions and you have nothing? Your sons and daughters will be given to another people while your eyes look on for them and you long for them continually, but there will be nothing you can do. Can you imagine that in today's times? Just think about children being kidnapped. Can you imagine being in a position where you see somebody come and they run off with your children, they throw them in a van and shut the door and they pull off, and you're standing there helpless. There's just nothing you can do. Your child has now been driven away and you have no idea of whether or not you're going to be able to get them back. The horror as a parent, right? It says, you shall be driven mad by the sight of these things. Can you imagine? The Lord will strike you on the knees and legs with sores and boils you cannot heal from the sole of your foot to the head, to the crown of your head, again, covered. Boils, again, I just think of Job, right? What Job went through. The Lord will bring you and your king, whom you appoint over you. Now listen, it says whom you appoint over you, not the person that God appointed, not leadership that God appointed, to a nation which you and your fathers have never known. There you will be forced to serve other gods, lowercase g. You're going to serve these lifeless gods of wood, of stone. And you will become a horror, a proverb, a mere object lesson. Now, I was listening to a teaching on this, and they said a byword. And remember, those of you that were with me during the book of Job, or just those of you that know the book of Job in the translations where he kept saying, like, I've become a byword, right? It says here, a mere object lesson, a taunt, a derisive joke among all the people to which the Lord drives you. People just look at you. They're horrified by you. Have you ever seen people, and it's unfortunate, but have you ever seen people with either like burn victims or people with different types of deformities or wounds, and it's hard to look at, right? And you kind of lower your gaze when you see them because it's just so hard to bear. Can you imagine that? I have seen that. I've been to physical therapy, and one of the physical therapy places I went to, they deal with a lot of amputees and people with like severe problems. And some of them come in, and some of them were like burn victims. This says from the crown of your head to the soles of your feet, burned up in like a bad fire, and the limbs are missing, the arms are missing, the legs are missing. And it's just so hard to look at. Can you imagine? All right, here we go. 38. You'll bring out great quantity of seed. You're going to sow much. You're going to plant much, but you're gathering little because the locusts will consume it. You'll plant vineyards and cultivate them, but you're not going to drink wine. Again, you're not going to enjoy the fruits of your labor or gather the grapes because the worms are going to eat them. Now, that's very frustrating when you've put a lot of time and effort into building something and you don't get a chance to enjoy it, and somebody or something else has destroyed it. You will have olive trees throughout your territory, but you will not anoint yourselves with oil because your olives will drop off. Again, everything is just drying up in front of you. Nothing's thriving. Everything is just dying. You will have sons and daughters, but they will not be yours for long because they'll go into captivity. And again, can you imagine your children being sold off? Imagine the days of slavery when they auctioned off the slaves and your children were just sold, taken, stolen from you, right? The cricket will take possession of all your trees and the produce of your ground. Now, for those of us who have trees, for those of us who grow our own vegetables, right? I've had seasons where I've had my plants, my vegetables, especially like my kale, and my pots were thriving. I grow my vegetables in pots, right, in the back of my house. They were thriving and they looked beautiful. And then I wake up one morning and I go outside and the caterpillars or the worms or whatever they are have just destroyed the whole, like gone through all of my kale. And I go out there and it's just stems left, all of the leaves and most of even the stalk. It's just gone. They've eaten the whole pot. All of that work of sowing, planting the seeds, going out there, watering them every day, fertilizing them so they will grow, only to have a caterpillar or worm or whatever those things are come and eat the whole thing, and I'm left with nothing. 3 months worth of work, 4 months worth of work, to be left with nothing, absolutely nothing. Is just gone, wiped out. There's nothing you can do. It happened at night during the dark. You didn't even see it, right? The stranger who lives among you will rise above you higher and higher, and you will go down lower and lower. He will lend to you out of his affluence, but you will not lend to him because of your poverty. Now he'll be the head and you'll be the tail. When you were supposed to be the head and him the tail, now he's the head and now you're the tail. There's a reversal of all of God's blessings. Everything is reversed. So all of these curses will come upon you and pursue you and overtake you until you are destroyed. Again, because you would not obey the voice of the Lord. Again, because of your disobedience. Oh gosh. All right. So it goes on, verse 47 again, because now listen, verse 47, because you did not serve the Lord your God with a heart full of joy and gladness for the abundance of all the things with which he blessed you, you will therefore serve your enemies whom the Lord sends against you in hunger and in thirst, in nakedness and in lack of all things. He'll put an iron yoke of slavery on your neck until he is destroyed. Verse 37 though, but let's deal with 37 right here. Because you didn't serve the Lord with a heart full of joy, no gladness, no appreciation for everything that God has done for you. You begin to take God for granted as though God owes it to you, although as though it is just, like you're just the greatest thing. You never stop to say, thank you, Lord. You never stop to rejoice. You never stop to count it all joy. Your heart is never full. You're never satisfied. You didn't serve God with a heart full of joy and gladness for the abundance of all things which he blessed you, large and small. Right? We take for granted. We're so blessed that we take for granted that when we get up in the morning, we're going to have running water, that we're going to have electricity, that we have clothes to put on our backs, that we have food to eat. And instead of thanking God, you know what, God, thank you for this bed, this big old comfortable bed that I slept in last night. Lord, thank you that when I got up and turned the light on, that there was electricity and the light turned on. God, thank you for this car, that I'm not walking miles to the store and I have to carry my groceries back on my head or strap them to my back. Right? For the abundance of all things which he has blessed you. God, thank you for this toothpaste. God, thank you for my deodorant. Father, thank you for the toothbrush. Thank you. Big, for those of you that started with me in the beginning with Thankful Thursday, that was actually one of the prayers that I used to pray right on Thankful Thursday. God, thank you for everything, big and small, everything that I have access to, everything that you have blessed me with. And then we remember when we spoke about, I had read something that said, imagine if you only had access to today the things you thanked God for yesterday. Right? Now, let's just ponder that for ourselves right now today. If we only had access to today, the things that we said, thank you, God, for yesterday, what will we have? Will we have these phones? Thank you that you can walk to the store. Right. Thank you that your limbs move. Thank you that your bones are strong enough to get you there. Thank you that you have an eyesight that you can see where you're going. Okay. Here we go. All right. So we have to thank God for everything that he's done, big and small. Never take God for granted. Never get to the point where we feel like we don't have to say thank you. All right, let me speed this up. It's almost an hour already. Verse 48. Still in 48. In hunger and in thirst, in nakedness and in lack of all things. You'll start to lack in every area of your life. Can you imagine? You have need of so much. All right. What else do I have in my notes? Oh my gosh. Then we start to deal with this cannibalism. God forbid, right? They get to this point now where they're eating their children. Verse 53, then you will eat the offspring of your own body to avoid starvation because your crops have failed. Right? Because everything around you has dried up and died because of disobedience. Can you imagine? What is worth losing everything? What is so good on this earth that you would risk God not hearing your prayers anymore and just turning everything that he had blessed you with now into curses? What? Money? Like what? Verse 58. So we get through the cannibalism. And it says, verse 58, if you are not careful to do all the words of this law that are written in this book, to fear and honor with reverence this glorious and awesome name, the Lord your God, then the Lord your God will bring extraordinary plagues on you and your descendants. Again, generational curses now. This is going to affect the generations. Even severe and lasting plagues and miserable and chronic sicknesses. When you're chronically ill, you're just ill continuously, right? It's like you get over one thing and now something else pops up. There's never a time where you're healthy. It goes into now bringing plagues and sickness on you, right? We get down to verse 65. It says, among those nations, you will find no peace, no rest. There will be no resting place for the sole of your foot. But there the Lord will give you a trembling heart, failing eyes, a despairing soul. Your life will hang in doubt before you. Your life will hang in doubt before you day and night. You will be filled with anxiety. You have no assurance of living. In the morning, you'll say, I wish it were evening, because the day is so horrible. You'll wish it was evening where you could just lie down and go to sleep. But then it goes on to say, but in the evening, you're going to wish it was morning, because you'll be you'll have nightmares. You won't be able to sleep. You'll have horrors of the night. it says, because of the dread in your heart, which you tremble, because of the sight of your eyes, which you will see, you're going to want to get up. You're going to want to wake up. You're going to want to sit. You'll get to the point where you say, you wish this was all just a bad dream. You ever have a bad dream and you can't wait to wake up? Or something is happening and you're like, man, I wish this was a bad dream. I wish I could wake up from this. That's how I felt like 2020 during the pandemic. You're like, man, I wish this was all just like a bad dream. I can't even believe that we're going through this. You just want to wake up and, everybody was like, I just can't wait to get back to normal. But imagine being in a situation where normal never comes back because of your disobedience. All right. Let's see. There was something else. Oh, here we go. Let me go back up to 29. I skipped over this. I wrote this down in my notes. Verse 29. Verse up 28. The Lord will strike you with madness and with blindness and with bewilderment of heart and mind. 29. And you will be groping at noon in broad daylight, just as the blind grope in the darkness, and nothing you do will prosper. But as I was reading this, as I sat down to study this, and I got here to verse 29, the one thing that popped into my spirit when it says, like, you'll be groping around, right, in broad daylight, you'll be like aimless, right? I wrote down no vision. When you're blind, you have no vision. You don't have a path to the future. Right? And so it made me think of Proverbs 29:18. Let's see. Let me just read some of these. Without guidance from God, law and order disappear, but God blesses everyone who obeys his law. If people do not hear God's message, there is no law to control them. But if someone obeys God's law, he is in a happy place. Okay, so this is just telling us about the consequences or the blessings of obedience or disobedience. Where there is no vision, the people perish. This is really the translation that I thought of, right? Where there's no vision, the people perish. You don't know where you're going. You're just wandering aimlessly. Here, you'll be groping around at noon in broad daylight, just as the blind grope in the darkness. You're groping aimlessly. You don't know where you're going. You can't see. You can't see your next move. Right? All right. And then this ends with, the Lord will bring you back to Egypt in ships by the way about which I said to you, you will never see it again. And there you will offer yourselves for sale to your enemies as male and female slaves, but there'll be no one to buy you. You're just in a complete state of desperation, right? You get, so they're so desperate that they want to now sell themselves to become slaves. But even in that situation, there's no one there to even buy you. You can't even make yourself become a slave. So anyway, family, this is a great chapter. Again, very, very clear. The blessings of obedience and the consequences of disobedience. I choose the blessings, And so it's already, we've been on an hour already. So I'm not going to stop this morning and pick out the scriptures and pray them, but I will probably do that as various shorts. All right. So family, have a great day today. We'll be back tomorrow with Deuteronomy chapter 29. I'm trying to get a sneak peek for you, but it won't advance to the next chapter. All right, the connection is slow as hanging. All right, family, grace and peace. Thank you so much for joining me this morning. This was a long chapter. This was 65 verses this morning. I pray that it blessed you. It blessed me. Once again, it really just makes you, like it says, be careful to keep his commandments to the best of your ability. All right, tomorrow's chapter is the covenant in Moab. All right. So family, enjoy your day. Those of you that have the day off today, enjoy your day today. It's kind of gloomy here, but I pray that you all have a blessed day. Thank you so much for hanging in there with me for the entire hour. We'll be back tomorrow, 9 a.m. for the covenant in Moab. And let's see, is that the only section? Yeah, 29 verses tomorrow. That's the only section in tomorrow's chapter. All right, family, grace and peace. For those of you that are watching the replay on YouTube, at the end of the video, if you look over my head, you'll see a video card pop up. There I will attach for you the playlist for Deuteronomy so that you can go back and rewatch any chapters that you missed or that you just want to see and hear again. I ask everybody, if you have not yet subscribed, please consider clicking that subscribe button. Subscribe, join our family as we continue to work our way through the Bible. We're over 40 books completed. So click on the playlist tab on YouTube and go through all of the books of the Bible that I've uploaded thus far. Click on the shorts tab. You can watch 30 second snippets of prayer, usually, or scriptures that I will pray. If you click on the community tab, you will see scriptures that I post or just like encouraging words. Some of the videos, let me just say this because I saw somebody else post this on someone else's channel. Some of the videos on here are under live. Some of them are under videos if you're going across the tabs. So sometimes if the video does not come across well or drops, the connection is not great on YouTube, I have to upload it from Facebook. If I upload it from Facebook, it will show under the videos tab and not live, so that the chapters will not be sequential on YouTube. It'll look like things are missing. If that's the case, just go to the video tab. You should find it there, or go to the playlist and pull up that book. If you pull up the book itself, you'll find all of the chapters there. Somebody was looking for a video the other day, and I knew exactly why they couldn't find it. And then the person answered it, and they said that's because it wasn't live. It was a recorded video that they had to upload. All right. So the easiest way to do it is to just go through the playlist and find that book and then pull them all up from there. All right, family, have a blessed day. We'll be back tomorrow with Deuteronomy chapter 29, and tomorrow we'll start our 7-day prayer push. I was supposed to do that today. I'm going to postpone that. We'll start tomorrow. All right, love you, family. Have a great day. Bye. Grace and peace.